around something. You know the saying, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Poetry is a way you can envelop your mind in something, and then you lock it in. So every one of these poems I write, I know by heart, except after potluck in large amounts of starches. But I should be able to quote it verbatim to you. But years ago, when I was at Sunset, I was given the assignment. Like they gave everybody else a preaching assignment. Ed Wharton did. And he was a preaching teacher that year. And he gave some guy this verse and that guy that verse. And he said, Doug, you do the entire book of Job. I said, what? And you only get 20 minutes. And then you got to summarize and make application. And I said, wait, there's 42 chapters. And I go home, I think, you know, that turkey, what he did, he knew what he was doing. And I said, the only way I could really do is paraphrase it, maybe write a poem or something about it, and then just do the poem. I can cover it and capture a snapshot and then just summarize and do it. So when I got up to do it, Ed says, let's see how you handle this challenge. And I quoted the entire book of Job in poetry, and I'm going to summarize it just like here. And that's how I got started on it. And then pretty soon all these churches wanted me to come out and do the book of Job for them. But then I did Ruth, then I did Jonah, then I did Esther. And so I'm going to do the entire Bible in 40 books. And then each one has a separate poetry book. And then each one will have a 7-day devotional where the first lesson is the poem, and then there's reflective lessons after. I'm going to give this one away after. They're on Amazon. I had to take a break from it. I had a lot going on, but I'm going to start firing it back up and cranking it up. Believe me, I go down the road writing poetry all the time. So, the book of Job. How many have read the book of Job? Everybody? 42 chapters. Did you go through this experience? When are these guys going to stop complaining? I mean, come on, dude. Just knock it up. It's like redundant. They say the same thing's only a little different. And so most people can't back up and see the big picture. What's the big picture? Well, let's go ahead and paraphrase it in poetry, and this is accurate. I have 70 actual quotes from 26 different versions of the Bible. So if somebody says, that's not scriptural. Well, okay, here's 70 verses. You just digest it. So let's go ahead and get going. And I have an illustrator. Travis Tarver did like the first 4 books. So here's how it goes. Long, long ago, in a land called Uz, lived a man named Job, and faithful he was. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters as well. His business was good, with much livestock to sell. Every year when a birthday would come, his children would gather for drinking and fun. Job, their good father, would do something nice. For their sins, he'd offer a sacrifice. So as you can see, Keeley, Job was a good guy. His heart was with God. He held his head high. But this would soon change and the blessings would end. For the devil was searching, and it was for trouble he sends. The angels had gathered before the Lord on this day. The devil came by. God says, what brings you this way? Satan responded, I've been walking the earth to and fro, looking to tempt. Is there someone you know? The Lord responded, have you considered my servant Job? He is a fine man, as you probably know. The devil responded, what do you expect? You give him much grace. Take away the man's wealth, he'll curse you to your face. The Lord responded, go ahead, take his wealth, the Lord proposed, but don't touch his health, and then you will know that Job will be faithful and true to my face. I'll get the glory and you'll be disgraced. So a messenger came, and the message was sullen. Your servants are dead, and your oxen and donkeys were stolen. And as he was speaking, another one came. Job, your servants are dead. The Chaldeans were mean. Hang on, I just bogged up. Oh, I didn't turn the page, that's why. Still another messenger came to the scene. Your camels are gone, the Chaldeans were mean. And just when he thought it couldn't be worse, another one came to announce a curse. Job, your servants were gathered and a mighty wind blew. Came in from the desert and their house went through. It whipped and it howled until the roof caved in. I'm sorry to report, they all died with their kin. And Job shaved his head, and he tore off his clothes. He fell on the ground before the God whom he knows. Now, I think he was from Scotland, because he said, naked from my mother's womb I came, and naked shall I go the same. But Lord, oh Lord, blessed be your name. You know, the devil had to be angry, for his plan was a dud. God got the glory, and his name was mud. Hey, you, what will you do when your troubles appear? Will you praise and proclaim God's name is dear? That's right. The angels met again to present before God, chapter 2, and the devil arrived, but not to glory and laud. For you see, when God asked, from where do you come? The devil responded, I'm looking for some. The Lord said, have you considered my servant Job? He stayed faithful through trials, as I'm sure that you know. Satan retorted, a man will give anything to save his own skin, take away the man's health, then he will sin. God issued the challenge, go do what you may, but don't take his life for this thing I say. So Satan departed and paid a visit to Job, who was now covered with boils from his head to his toes. Job sat sadly among ashes, scraping his sores. What will be his reaction? How can he take any more? His wife called on him, Job, curse God and die. Oh, what will you do with the stakes being so high? Here's what he said. He said, are you a heathen woman? Job exclaimed in his pain. You expect nothing bad from God and all to be gain. So in all this, Job said nothing wrong, though the pain was severe and the days would be long. How will you react if God takes your wealth? What if he took your family and even your health? Would your response be to curse God and die? Or would you turn to him for the answers to why? Well, 3, quote, friends waited silent for a week. Look at that. Can you believe that? They sat with their friend whose future seemed bleak. What were they thinking as they listened to his moans, his tossing and turnings combined with painful groans? Then Job broke the silence. It's now time to speak. What will he say, and for whom will he seek? He said, curse the time I was born, the day of my birth. Take it off the calendar, remove all its worth. Then Eliphaz spoke up. He said, that's no way to talk. See, he's from Lubbock. He said, that's no way to talk. In the past you have comforted, and now you will balk. Job, have you ever known God? Have you ever known God to punish the innocent? Come on, confess to God and remove this defilement. Job proclaimed, please, Eliphaz the Lubbokian, Eliphaz, don't judge me so rashly. Through sadness and pain, I spoke up so brashly. The one thing I desire the most is to be delivered by the God whom I boast. One should be kind to a fainting friend, but instead you have heaped it on till the end. You have proved as reliable as a dried up brook. Tell me, what have I done, or from whom have I took? And then Bildad spoke. I think he was from Dallas. He said, how long will this last? When will it end? Joe, when will you stop blowing the words like the wind? Does God twist justice? If you were pure and clean, would God not hear your prayer and remove you from the scene? Oh, I love Job's reply. Do you think you're telling me something unique? You offer me comfort and then smite my cheek. I am weary of living, so let me complain. And I'll call to question this unfortunate pain. And then Zophar, his third friend, look at that. You see that? His mouth opened wide. He spoke up and said, listen how he said, what sin do you hide? Should I remain silent while you sit here and boast, question the creator of the heavenly host? Before you turn to God and stretch out your hands, Job, get rid of your sin and you'll understand. Yeah. Listen what he says. Your life will be cloudless and your darkness turn bright, and you will have courage and hope in this plight. I love Job. He said, mocked in response, woohoo, you know all to do. When you die, all wisdom will be dying with you. Well, I know a few things. You're no better than me. Examine the facts, and then you will see. I am sick near to death and surrounded by mockers. I'm not sin, I'm an innocent walker, yet you spit in my face with your lovely compassion. Would you please go away in a most timely fashion? How about you? What will you do if the mockers of this life minister you? What if they offer you a warped compassion and hurtful words as a big distraction? To my military friends, I usually throw extra lines in. What if they offer you a drill sergeant's compassion, the bedside manner of a tooth extraction? Will you abandon God in distress? Will you stay with God when your life is a mess? Go ahead. Whose side will you choose? The God who made you? Will he get the glory when this thing is through? Well, the accusing continued. Each taking their turn, Job patiently suffered his skin sorely burned. When Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar had finished, Job gave closing arguments, his heart not diminished. Listen to what he said. He said, I vow by the living God who's taken my rights, who embittered my soul in this terrible sight. My lips have no evil, my mouth speaks no lie. I will never agree you are right till I die. I repeat again and again, I know not any sin, yet you are my enemies, for which I cannot win. What hope has the wicked when God cuts him off? When he takes away his life, will he listen to the scoff? For in the past I aided the fatherless, the widows, the blind. The strangers were blessed. I gave them food and justice as well. Go ahead, go ask them this thing and they will tell. I said, surely I will die in peace when this life of mine will cease. And in everything I prospered in, only to be accused of sin. If I've been evil or put trust in wealth, then cause further damage to my health. But at least give me a voice or a trial, and I will prove that I'm not vile. Look at that. Look at these guys. These are his friends. His three friends refused to reply for concerning his, quote, sin. They thought he did lie. And then a young man, Elihu, who sat close beside, he questioned all four in a rebuking chide. I like his strategy. It's the same thing, only just softer. He said, I am young and you are old. Job, I held back speaking while you scold. If Job would have been arguing with me, I wouldn't have used that strategy. Please listen, Job, to what I say. For the Spirit of God gives life this day. You said that you're innocent and your life is pure. This is sin that you sinned. Confess and you'll be cured. Elihu continued. He said, God is never wicked or unjust. If he withdraws his spirit, Job, all life will turn to dust. That's right. He carefully watches over all. He carefully watches over all that man does. He shatters the greatest of men just because. Job, do you think it's right for you to say you haven't sinned and God is to blame? I will answer you and all your friends too. Look up into that sky high above you. Job, if you sin, does it shake the heavens and knock God from his throne? If you sin again and again, what effect is there known? Listen to the thunder of his voice. All of his work should cause men to rejoice. Then 38 verse 4, my favorite chapter. Then the Lord spoke from a whirlwind and questioned in confidence. Job, why do you use ignorance to deny my providence? Get ready to fight. I'm demanding answers from you. And the questions began, and the reply Job must do. He said, 38 verse 4, God's interrogation. He said, where were you when the earth was made? Where were you when the foundations were laid? Who decreed the sea's boundaries when it gushed from the deep? Who covers it with clouds and causes rain to seep? Job, have you seen the snow or the hail form? What of dew or the frost of the storms? What of those stars I have put in the skies and the constellations that you view with your eyes? Man, those questions kept mounting. That's right, the evidence was in. God won the argument that Job couldn't win. Job responded, I am nothing. I have no answers for you. God, I lay my hand on my mouth. My speaking is through. He's trying to get out of the ring. God said, get back in there, round two. God challenged Job. He says, God challenged Job, brace yourself for battle. Stand up like a man. Let me ask you questions and answer if you can. Will you discredit me to say you are right? Job, are you as strong as me in all my might? Look at that. Look at the behemoth. I made him too. No one can catch him, not even you. Look at that one. That was freaky, isn't it? Look at the Leviathan with a hook and a line. He is in the whole ocean, the most fearless and fine. Job responded to God. God, you can do anything that you want to do. And no one can stop you, even if they wanted to. You ask who has foolishly denied your providence. It is I who is lacking the common sense. I heard you before, but now I have seen. I repent in ashes and dust, for I am unclean. And God said to Eliphaz, hey, I'm angry with you. You and your friends have something to do. Take 7 bullocks and 7 rams too. Offer a burnt offering for all of you. And on your behalf, Job will pray for all your sins you commit this day. So Job was blessed twice as much than before. That's right, he had twice as much livestock and much, much more. He got 7 more sons and 3 daughters again. Hey, I got to tell you something. Those daughters were the fairest in all the land. That's right. Job lived 140 years after this date. He had many grandchildren, and some even great. And so through all the trials, he did not curse. He stuck with God through even the worst. So, how will you react when your trials come? Yeah, you. Will you stay close with God where you're from? Questions will come, and doubts will arise. But hang in there with God. And you know what, Keeley? You will be wise. There you go. That's the book of Job. No, that's God's word. But I want to draw to a verse in Job. Let's boil it down to one verse. Look in the back. What verse does that say? Job 13, what? Do you see it in the back? First lesson. Though he slay me, I will hope in him. It says right there in Job 13. In the middle of this struggle, Job lost everything, including his 401k and his 2020 Chevy Silverado. Everything. He lost it all. And in the midst of hopelessness, and he thinks it's the end, he says, though he slay me, and a slaying comes in the form of bad health, something, a trial that comes up, Job never turned his eyes from God. He said, though he slay me, I will hope in him. We're told in James, behold Job. Look at Job. He stayed faithful in trials. Look at him. He's an example of perseverance. That makes it a New Testament Christian thing at that point. So I'm just here to tell you, no matter what you do in life, make sure that you always, always, always trust in him, and it'll be okay. Do you like biblical poetry? Okay. Well, you can find those on Amazon. I would have brought more, but they were in the box already. So, all right, we'll start in 3 minutes. I'm going to get a drink of water and use the restroom.